Hey folks, Devin Pennypacker here for the Windup Watch Shop, and today we're going to be taking a look at a relatively new dive watch from a company that is relatively new to the Windup Watch Shop. One that you probably know out there, but is new to the Brooklyn showroom here and also to the website, so we haven't really had a chance to talk about it too much. And that brand is Formex, and the watch we're going to be talking about is the Baby Reef, a dive watch that they launched just last year, a downsizing of their very popular Reef model, which is their in-house dive watch in a very unique case shape and form factor. Now there's a lot of value packed into this small dive watch here that is still delivering at a price point that really a lot of companies out there can't compete with. So we're gonna take a closer look at this dive watch, we're gonna talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, and I'll give you my feedback on this watch before wrapping it up. But before we do, I do just wanna mention that on this channel, we cover products that we carry here inside of the Windup Watch Shop or on windupwatchshop.com. There we have a selection of backpacks, EDC items, accessories, clocks, and of course watches curated by enthusiasts for enthusiasts just like you. There, every purchase helps us continue what we love doing. But if you're in the Brooklyn area, stop into the Brooklyn showroom, come say hi to us. We're actually working just on the other side of this wall. If you're not, check us out online or come to one of the Windup Watch fairs where we're always there excited to meet all of you. But with all of that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Now, the Reef is a model that is somewhat contentious out there on the watch market, mostly because of its sizing conventions. Some people claim that it's a little bit too large for the wrist, especially when you consider the slightly avant-garde case shape. The bump outs that are sitting out there tend to ride a little bit larger on the wrist, especially when considering the case dimensions. Now, this is the Baby Reef, a slightly downsized version of the Reef that we have seen on the market for quite some time. They claim that this one measures in at 39.5 millimeters, though to be honest, that measurement is taken from the armpit of the case here, going from the inside of the bump out to the inside of the bump out. It does measure in a little bit larger than that, but the felt dimension is truly right around that 39 to 40 millimeter case diameter. The larger one does tend to wear close to that 42 to 43 case diameter, and I do wear the Formex GMT quite a bit, so I can tell you that that one does wear large, and this one does wear quite a bit smaller. Overall though, the case has taken the same shape and refinements as the original, and just shrunken it down a little bit to fit this new form factor. We still see a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces falling over all of the different facets about the case. The styling can be a little bit aggressive for some out there, and that's something that I actually tend to like. They don't soften the edges, instead leaning into the more aggressive styling except for the crown guards and the case bump out on the opposite side. Overall, we have a pretty thin profile here, measuring in at just 11 millimeters thick, with a relatively compact lug-to-lug of 45.5 millimeters. Now that lug-to-lug does mean that this is going to fit most wrists out there pretty comfortably, regardless of if you're on the smaller or larger size, finding a sweet spot on most of those out there with a 6 to 7 inch wrist. Formex has a very interesting bracelet system here set between the lugs with a quick release mechanism that is fit to their bracelets, their rubbers, and their straps. On the version we're looking at here, we do have their 3-link bracelet, which is well articulated and drapes to the wrist nicely, and is mostly brushed with these small bits of polishing on the edges just to dress it up a little bit, without really making this a dressier piece and still leaning into the rugged aesthetic that you want from a dive watch. The clasp is kept to a pretty small standard, meaning that you're not going to see too many scratches on there, also meaning too that it can fit a wide variety of wrists so you don't have that extra overhang that you tend to get from really wide clasps out there. On the inside, you do have a very nice, simple on-the-fly micro adjust, something that we saw Formex adopt very early on, and now we've seen kind of sweep across the industry thanks to a lot of micro brands really pioneering those efforts. Again, I mentioned that this is a pretty adaptable system, so if the bracelet is not for you, Formex offers the ability to swap it over to a rubber, a leather, a nylon strap option. You won't be able to really easily swap it over to a standard strap option out there because it is a bit more of a proprietary system. But because they offer so many, I really haven't found the need to go hunting for a weird modular system that works for me. Really, just sticking to the standard options that they offer has been great. Finding the right fit is really simple too because of that on-the-fly adjustment and the screw-in links, especially considering that these links are pretty small. I've been able to find it very comfortable on my wrist even when it swells. Just getting those fine little adjustments on there and then also altering it to fit any wrist out there should be pretty simple. Returning to the case, you also have the modular ability of the bezel system that Formex offers. Now on the Baby Reef here, we do have a bit more of an overhang on the bezel, which means that swapping out the bezel is actually a little bit easier than you have on the standard Reef. Formex basically pioneered a system where without using tools, you can swap out the bezel and put a new one on. However, that does mean that you do sacrifice a little bit in terms of bezel action, as it now is a little on the softer side in terms of that click. I'll give you a little audible action here. It's a little on the softer side compared to other dive watches on the market. However, you do still get adequate action, you still do get pretty good grip on the outside there because the grooves are still deep and well cut. Set just inside is the flat sapphire crystal, equipped with an adequate anti-reflective coating that does well to cut down on glare, except in extreme light conditions where you do pick up a little bit of the light reflection, obscuring the dial in some conditions. Now on this model here, we have a very bright green sunburst dial, which does well to contrast the dial accents on top. However, again, Formex offers a plethora of dial options here, so pick the flavor that you like the most. On the perimeter, you have a white printed minute track, interrupted by polished applied indices, slanted towards the dial in an aggressive tooth-like fashion. Each holds their own application of lume that seems to free float towards the dial, eventually terminating at a frameless facet. At its center, modern baton-like hands, each holding their own lume, have polished facets on the outside with a central portion of brushing. Down at 6, you do have a faceted date window, which slopes down to reveal the color-matched date disc, which is actually pressed closely to the dial, so you don't have an obscured or shadowed date window, a nice touch that you don't see on most dials. Overall, legibility is great, lume is fantastic, and the dial is just pleasing, especially when sunlight hits that sunburst and makes the dial come to life. Inside the Formex Baby Reef is the same SW/COSC certified automatic movement that we have seen on other Reef models. Now this particular movement operates at 4 Hz while still achieving a power reserve of 56 hours. More than adequate for daily use. If you're going to set it down, you're going to pick it up, it's still going to be running over that long weekend. Overall though, because it is COSC certified, it is going to be keeping excellent time for you, so you don't have to worry about accuracy, ensuring that this watch is going to keep excellent time no matter how much stress you put it through. Overall, it is a very well-finished package with a lot of strap options out there, an excellent reliable movement, a sapphire crystal with excellent dial details, and a lot of little bits of design that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a package that is just under $2,000. There's a lot that Formex is really offering you here, especially when considering that the competition tends to be at a price point of multiples of this when they're offering you the same sort of movement technology and specifications that you get in the Reef. And that being said, that is going to do it for this video here, so let me know what you thought about the Baby Reef. Is this a watch that you've considered picking up? Do you think that it does pack in a lot of value for the price, or do you think that there's other watches out there that I should maybe talk about and consider? Maybe something I should explore more in a future video? Let me know down in that comment section down below. Once you're down there, please do give us a like and subscribe. It really does help us out. But with all of that out of the way, I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you spending some of it with me. So until the next one, peace.